Captain Ryan Cole's hand moved to his sidearm as the 8-year-old prince stepped toward the palace balcony railing. The crowd below had gathered for the coronation celebration, but something felt wrong. Cole had served the royal family for 12 years, and his instincts never lied. The boy Prince Alexander stood dangerously close to the edge, his small hands gripping the ornate stonework. Cole stepped forward, his black uniform crisp against the morning light. The Queen Mother watched from her chair, her eyes never leaving her grandson. Protocol demanded Cole remain 3 steps behind the royal family at all times, but the prince kept moving closer to danger. The autumn wind picked up, rustling the ceremonial flags that hung from every building in the capital. Cole's earpiece crackled with reports from other guards stationed throughout the palace grounds. Everything seemed normal, yet his gut told him otherwise. The prince turned suddenly, his bright blue eyes meeting Cole's steady gaze. For a moment neither moved. The boy's expression carried something Cole had never seen before, a mixture of curiosity and determination that made the veteran guard's pulse quicken. Queen Isabella rose from her throne, her emerald dress flowing like water as she approached her son. The crown prince, newly turned 25, stood beside his mother with the weight of tomorrow's coronation heavy on his shoulders. Cole watched the family dynamics unfold, noting every gesture, every glance. His training had taught him to read people like books, and today everyone seemed to be hiding something important. The prince's younger sister, Princess Catherine, emerged from the palace doors, her silver gown catching the sunlight. She moved with the grace of someone born to royalty. But Cole noticed the slight tremor in her hands. The entire royal family now stood within 10 feet of the balcony's edge, and Cole's protective instincts went into overdrive. He had sworn an oath to defend these people with his life, and that oath meant everything to him. Below in the courtyard, thousands of citizens cheered and waved flags, completely unaware of the tension building above them. Cole's radio buzzed again, this time with urgent chatter from the security team monitoring the crowd. Someone had spotted unusual movement near the palace gates. Cole's jaw tightened as he processed the information, his eyes never leaving the royal family. The young Prince Alexander suddenly pointed at something in the distance, his voice cutting through the celebratory noise with words that would change everything. The radio in Cole's ear exploded with frantic voices as snipers on nearby rooftops reported movement in the bell tower across the square. Cole's blood turned cold when he realized the threat was real and immediate. Without hesitation, he broke protocol and lunged forward, wrapping his arms around young Prince Alexander just as the first shot rang out. The bullet struck the stone railing exactly where the boy had been standing, sending chunks of marble flying through the air like deadly confetti. Queen Isabella screamed as Cole tackled the prince to the ground, his body forming a protective shield over the child. The crowd below erupted in panic as more shots echoed across the plaza. Cole rolled with the prince behind a massive stone pillar, his training taking over completely. The boy's eyes were wide with terror, but he remained silent, trusting the guard who had just saved his life. Cole pressed his radio button and barked orders to his team, coordinating an immediate lockdown of the entire palace complex. Princess Catherine dove behind her mother's throne as Crown Prince William grabbed his mother's arm, pulling her toward the safety of the palace interior. Cole counted at least 6 more shots before the firing stopped, each one calculated and precise. This was no random attack. Someone had planned this assassination attempt with military precision. The guard's mind raced as he held the trembling prince close, whispering reassurances while scanning for additional threats. The silence that followed was more terrifying than the gunfire had been. Cole knew from experience that quiet moments often preceded the deadliest attacks. His earpiece crackled with reports from the tactical response team that had surrounded the bell tower. The shooter was gone, vanished like smoke into the maze of ancient buildings that surrounded the palace. Cole lifted his head carefully, checking the balcony for any signs of additional danger before making his next move. Young Alexander looked up at Cole with newfound respect and asked a question that would haunt the guard for years to come. Why did someone want to hurt my family? The innocence in the boy's voice cut through Cole's professional composure like a knife. He had no answer that could make sense of such evil to a child's mind. Instead, he helped the prince to his feet and guided him toward the relative safety of the palace walls, knowing that this attack was only the beginning of something much larger and more dangerous. The Queen Mother had collapsed into her chair, her face pale with shock and disbelief. Crown Prince William was already on his phone, speaking in rapid, hushed tones with the head of national security. Princess Catherine stood frozen by the doorway, her hands shaking as she processed what had just happened. Cole realized that in the space of 3 minutes, everything about their lives had changed forever. The carefree days of public appearances and open balconies were over, replaced by a new reality where danger lurked around every corner. Cole's radio buzzed with an urgent message from the palace security chief. "Captain, we need you in the Situation Room immediately. We've identified the shooter's position, but there's something else you need to see." This attack was just a distraction for something bigger. The guard looked down at Prince Alexander, who was still gripping his hand tightly. Cole knew he had to balance his duty to protect the boy with his responsibility to help coordinate the palace's response to this unprecedented threat. As sirens wailed in the distance and emergency vehicles surrounded the palace grounds, Cole made a decision that would define the rest of his career. He knelt down to Prince Alexander's eye level and spoke with the calm authority that had earned him his position. "Your Royal Highness, I need you to stay with your mother and do exactly what she tells you." "Can you be brave for me?" The boy nodded solemnly, understanding that this was no ordinary day and that the adults around him were fighting to keep his family safe. The tactical team leader's voice crackled through Cole's earpiece with chilling news. "Captain, we've found evidence of multiple shooter positions throughout the city. This was a coordinated attack, and we believe they're planning something during tomorrow's coronation ceremony. The royal family is not safe anywhere right now." Cole's blood ran cold as he realized the true scope of the threat they were facing. This was not just an assassination attempt. It was the beginning of a war against the monarchy itself. Queen Isabella had regained her composure and was speaking quietly with her security detail, her voice steady despite the trauma she had just witnessed. Crown Prince William approached Cole with a grim expression, his royal bearing intact even in crisis. "Captain, my family owes you a debt we can never repay. You saved my brother's life today, but I fear this is far from over. We need your expertise now more than ever." Cole nodded, understanding that his role had just expanded beyond simple protection to active participation in defending the crown against unknown enemies. The palace's ancient walls, which had protected royalty for centuries, suddenly felt inadequate against modern threats. Cole surveyed the balcony one last time, noting the damage from the sniper's bullets and the bloodstains on the marble floor where flying stone had cut several people. The celebration below had turned into a scene of chaos, with emergency responders treating wounded civilians and police cordoning off the entire square. Cole realized that whoever planned this attack had succeeded in terrorizing not just the royal family, but the entire nation. Princess Catherine finally found her voice and approached Cole with tears in her eyes. "Thank you for protecting Alexander. Our family will never forget what you did today." Cole accepted her gratitude with a simple nod, but his mind was already focused on the next threat, the next moment, when split-second decisions would mean the difference between life and death. The attack had revealed something crucial about their enemies. They were willing to hurt innocent civilians to achieve their goals, which meant no one in the kingdom was truly safe. The sound of helicopters approaching the palace signaled the arrival of additional security reinforcements, but Cole knew that raw numbers would not be enough to stop determined assassins. The enemy had demonstrated sophisticated planning, advanced weapons, and intimate knowledge of palace security procedures. Cole's years of experience told him that this level of coordination required inside information, which meant someone close to the royal family was providing intelligence to their enemies. As emergency medics checked Prince Alexander for injuries, Cole noticed something that made his stomach clench with dread. The boy's jacket had a small hole near the shoulder. The sniper's bullet had missed killing him by less than 2 inches. If Cole had been even half a second slower in his response, the 8-year-old prince would be dead, and the kingdom would be plunged into chaos. The weight of that realization settled on Cole's shoulders like a lead blanket, reminding him that failure was not an option in his line of work. The security chief's voice returned to Cole's earpiece with an urgent update that changed everything. "Captain, we've intercepted communication suggesting the coronation ceremony itself is the primary target. Intelligence indicates they're planning to eliminate the entire royal bloodline tomorrow. We're recommending immediate evacuation to a secure location." Cole looked around at the royal family. Seeing their determination to maintain normalcy despite the obvious danger, He knew that convincing them to abandon the coronation would be nearly impossible, but keeping them in the palace might be suicide. Crown Prince William gathered his family around him, his voice carrying the authority of someone born to lead during crisis. We will not be driven from our home by terrorists. Tomorrow's coronation will proceed as planned, with whatever additional security measures Captain Cole deems necessary. Cole admired the prince's courage, but he also understood that royal pride could be a deadly weakness when facing ruthless enemies. The guard would need to find a way to protect the family's honor while keeping them alive long enough to see another day. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the damaged balcony as cleanup crews worked to repair the bullet holes and bloodstains. Cole watched the efficient bustle of activity while his mind calculated risk factors and defensive strategies. The enemy had revealed their capabilities and intentions, but they had also given Cole valuable intelligence about their methods and timing. The guard realized that the next 24 hours would determine not just the fate of the royal family, but the future of the entire monarchy. Young Prince Alexander approached Cole one final time before being escorted to his secured quarters. "Captain, will you still be protecting us tomorrow?" The boy's question carried the weight of complete trust, the kind of faith that only children could offer to the adults responsible for their safety. Cole looked into those innocent blue eyes and made a promise that he intended to keep, regardless of the cost. "Yes, Your Royal Highness. I will be there, and I will keep you safe." The palace gates closed with a resounding clang as night fell over the capital city, sealing the royal family inside what had become both a fortress and a potential trap. Cole walked the corridors he had patrolled for over a decade, now seeing them through different eyes. Every shadow could hide an enemy, every corner could conceal danger, and every person could be a potential threat. The guard's phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number containing just 4 words that made his blood freeze. "Tomorrow changes everything, Captain." Cole immediately forwarded the message to the intelligence division while his mind raced with the implications. The enemy knew his name, his rank, and possibly his personal phone number. This level of penetration into palace security suggested that their opponents were far more dangerous and well-connected than anyone had imagined. The guard realized that he was no longer just protecting the royal family from external threats. He was fighting a war against an invisible enemy that had already infiltrated their most secure systems. The Situation Room buzzed with activity as analysts worked through the night trying to identify potential threats and security vulnerabilities. Cole studied satellite images of the coronation route, noting dozens of potential sniper positions and escape routes. The ceremony would take the royal family through nearly 2 miles of public streets, passing thousands of spectators and hundreds of buildings. Protecting them would require perfect coordination and split-second timing, with no margin for error or hesitation. Queen Isabella summoned Cole to her private study just after midnight, her face showing the strain of the day's events. She moved with the grace of someone accustomed to royal protocols, but Cole could see the fear in her eyes when she thought no one was watching. "Captain, I need to know honestly. Can you keep my family safe during tomorrow's ceremony?" Cole met her gaze directly, understanding that she needed truth more than reassurance. "Your Majesty, I can promise you that anyone who wants to hurt your family will have to go through me first. Beyond that, I cannot guarantee anything." The Queen nodded, appreciating his honesty even as it confirmed her worst fears. "My husband faced assassins during his reign, and he always said that courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to do what was right despite being afraid. Tomorrow, we must all find that courage." Cole understood that she was not just speaking as a mother worried for her children's safety, but as a monarch who understood that running from danger would destroy the crown's authority and the people's faith in their government. Princess Catherine appeared in the doorway, her evening gown replaced by simple clothes more suitable for a crisis. "Mother, the children are asking questions about what happened today. Alexander wants to know if the bad men are going to hurt us again." The princess's voice carried the weight of someone forced to grow up quickly in the face of danger. Cole realized that the attack had not just threatened their lives, but had shattered the family's sense of security and normalcy. Crown Prince William joined them, carrying a folder thick with intelligence reports and security assessments. "Captain, our analysts believe we're facing a coordinated cell with military training and substantial financial backing. They've been planning this operation for months, possibly years. The attack today was designed to test our response times, and identify weaknesses in our security protocols. Cole absorbed this information while considering its implications for tomorrow's ceremony. The enemy had been studying them, learning their patterns and preparing for a decisive strike. The clock on the mantel chimed 1 o'clock in the morning as Cole reviewed the final security arrangements for the coronation ceremony. Every route had been checked, every building searched, and every potential threat assessed. Yet he could not shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial, some element of the enemy's plan that would render all their preparations useless. His experience had taught him to trust these instincts, but with less than 8 hours until the ceremony began, options for additional security measures were extremely limited. A knock on the study door interrupted their planning session as the head of palace intelligence entered with an urgent report. Your Majesty, we've identified the source of the leaked security information. One of our senior staff members has been feeding information to the attackers for the past 6 months. We believe he was coerced through threats against his family, but the damage to our operational security is extensive. Cole felt his stomach drop as he realized that their enemies had been one step ahead from the beginning. Queen Isabella's face hardened with resolve as she processed this betrayal. Captain, what does this mean for tomorrow's ceremony? Cole considered the implications carefully before responding. Your Majesty, it means that our enemies know every detail of our security plan, including backup procedures and emergency protocols. We're essentially operating without the element of surprise or the advantage of unpredictability. The room fell silent as everyone understood the gravity of their situation. Crown Prince William stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city where thousands of his future subjects slept peacefully, unaware of the danger surrounding their royal family. Captain, if we cancel the coronation now, we send a message that terrorism works, that threats and violence can disrupt our government and our way of life. If we proceed, we risk not only our lives, but potentially devastating the monarchy if something goes wrong. What would you do in our position? Cole appreciated the prince's willingness to seek counsel, but he also understood that this decision carried consequences far beyond his own expertise. The guard took a deep breath before answering, knowing that his words might influence the fate of the kingdom. Your Royal Highness, my job is to protect your family's safety, not to make political decisions. However, I can tell you that brave people have always faced impossible choices, and history remembers those who chose duty over personal safety. If you decide to proceed with the coronation, I will do everything in my power to keep you alive. If you choose to postpone for security reasons, I will respect that decision and work to ensure your safety until the threats can be eliminated. Princess Catherine moved closer to her brother, her voice barely above a whisper. William, what would father have done? The question hung in the air like a challenge, invoking the memory of the previous king who had led the nation through multiple crises with unwavering courage. Cole had served under the late king for 5 years and remembered his philosophy that leadership meant accepting risks that others could not bear. The current royal family was facing their first true test of that principle. Young Prince Alexander appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes sleepily. Why is everyone still awake? Are the bad men coming back? His innocent question cut through all the political and strategic considerations, reducing the complex situation to its most basic element, a child's need for safety and security. Cole knelt down to the boy's level, his voice gentle but serious. We're making sure that tomorrow is a very special day for your brother, and that means staying up late to plan everything perfectly. The boy nodded solemnly, then looked directly at Cole with the piercing honesty that only children possessed. Captain, you saved my life today. Will you save everyone else tomorrow? The question carried more weight than any strategic briefing or intelligence report. Cole realized that in the boy's mind the guard had become a symbol of protection and hope, a figure who could stand between his family and the dangers of the world. I promise you, Your Royal Highness, that I will do everything possible to keep your family safe. Queen Isabella made the decision that would define her reign and possibly determine the fate of the monarchy. The coronation will proceed as scheduled. We will not allow terrorists to dictate our actions or undermine the stability of our government. Captain Cole, you have 8 hours to implement whatever additional security measures you deem necessary. Use any resources you require and take whatever steps you feel are appropriate to protect my family. Cole nodded, understanding that she had just given him unprecedented authority and responsibility. As the royal family finally retired to their quarters for a few hours of rest before the ceremony, Cole gathered his security team for an emergency briefing. The Situation Room filled with the kingdom's most elite guards and intelligence officers, all understanding that they were facing their greatest professional challenge. Cole looked around the room at faces he had worked with for years, knowing that some of them might not survive the next day, but also knowing that every person present was prepared to die protecting the crown. The morning sun rose over the capital city as thousands of spectators began gathering along the coronation route. Completely unaware of the drama that had unfolded in the palace overnight, Cole watched the crowds from his command post, searching for any signs of unusual activity or suspicious behavior. His earpiece buzzed with constant updates from surveillance teams positioned throughout the city, but so far everything appeared normal. The guard knew that this apparent normalcy could be deceptive. Professional assassins would blend seamlessly with ordinary citizens until the moment they struck. Crown Prince William appeared in the command center dressed in his ceremonial uniform, looking every inch the future king despite the stress of the past 24 hours. "Captain, I want you to know that whatever happens today, you have served my family with honor and distinction. If something goes wrong, I want you to prioritize the safety of my younger siblings above all other considerations." Cole understood the unspoken message. The prince was prepared to sacrifice himself to save his family, but he wanted assurance that the children would survive even if the adults did not. The final security briefing revealed one last piece of disturbing intelligence that changed everything. "Captain, we've intercepted communications suggesting that the enemy has positioned explosives along the coronation route. The devices are small, probably designed to create chaos and confusion rather than mass casualties, but they could provide cover for assassins to escape after completing their mission." Cole felt his chest tighten as he realized that their enemies had prepared for every contingency, including their own escape routes. Queen Isabella entered the command center wearing her ceremonial gown and crown, her bearing regal despite the circumstances. She moved with the confidence of someone who had accepted the risks and made peace with potential consequences. "Captain, it's time. My people are waiting, and history will not record that we cowered in fear when duty called." Cole nodded, understanding that the moment of truth had finally arrived. In less than 1 hour, the royal family would leave the safety of the palace and embark on a journey that could end in triumph or tragedy. The motorcade assembled in the palace courtyard with military precision, each vehicle armored and equipped with advanced defensive systems. Cole took his position in the lead security car, his radio alive with chatter from teams positioned along the entire route. As the royal limousine pulled into formation, he caught a glimpse of young Prince Alexander waving from the window, the boy's face bright with excitement despite everything that had happened. The sight strengthened Cole's resolve and reminded him why he had chosen this profession in the first place. The palace gates opened to reveal thousands of cheering citizens lining the streets, their faces filled with joy and anticipation for the historic ceremony. Cole scanned the crowds through his binoculars, noting the positions of his security teams and searching for anything that seemed out of place. The motorcade began moving slowly through the throngs of spectators, the royal family visible through the limousine's bulletproof windows as they waved to their future subjects. 3 blocks from the palace, Cole's worst fears materialized as his earpiece exploded with urgent warnings. "Contact front. We have suspicious movement in Building 7. Possible sniper preparation on the 3rd floor." Cole immediately radioed the motorcade to halt while his rapid response team moved to investigate. The seconds stretched like hours as the royal family sat exposed in their limousine, surrounded by thousands of potential witnesses to either their triumph or their assassination. The tactical team's report crackled through Cole's radio with chilling efficiency. "Confirmed hostile with high-powered rifle. Target is in position overlooking the coronation route. We have a clean shot, but the window is closing fast." Cole made a split-second decision that would determine whether the royal family lived or died. "Take the shot." "Repeat, you are authorized to engage the target." The sharp crack of the sniper rifle echoed across the city, followed by immediate confirmation that the threat had been eliminated. But Cole's relief lasted only moments, before another urgent report flooded his communications. Multiple contacts emerging from the crowd at intersection 4. They're moving toward the motorcade with possible explosive devices. The guard's training kicked in as he coordinated an immediate response, directing security teams to intercept the attackers while simultaneously ordering the motorcade to change routes. The royal limousine accelerated through the crowded streets as Cole's voice remained calm and professional despite the chaos erupting around them. The first explosion detonated 2 blocks behind the royal motorcade, sending smoke and debris flying through the air as panicked spectators fled in all directions. Cole watched through his rearview mirror as emergency responders rushed toward the blast site, knowing that his decision to change routes had probably saved the royal family's lives. But the attack was far from over, and he could see additional suspicious activity developing ahead of their new position. Young Prince Alexander's voice came through the limousine's intercom, his childish innocence cutting through the professional tension. "Captain Cole, why are there so many loud noises? Are we still going to the cathedral?" The boy's question reminded everyone in the motorcade that they were not just protecting symbols of government, but real people with families and feelings. Cole responded gently, while never taking his eyes off the street ahead. "We're taking a different route to make sure we arrive safely, Your Royal Highness." The second attack came from an unexpected direction, as masked figures emerged from a construction site directly ahead of the motorcade. Cole's driver executed a precision turn that would have impressed racing professionals, while security vehicles moved to intercept the attackers. Gunfire erupted in the street as the royal limousine sped away from the ambush point, its armored body deflecting bullets that would have been fatal to an ordinary vehicle. Queen Isabella's voice remained steady over the intercom as she addressed her security team. "Captain, how many more of these attacks should we expect?" Cole appreciated her calm professionalism even as he calculated threat assessments and response options. "Your Majesty, intelligence suggests they plan for multiple contingencies. We should assume additional attacks until we reach the cathedral safely." The guard's honest assessment reflected his respect for the Queen's intelligence and her right to know the truth about their situation. The motorcade approached the final turn before reaching the cathedral when Cole's radio erupted with the most terrifying report of the day. "Captain, we have confirmed intelligence of a major explosive device inside the cathedral itself. The bomb squad is en route, but estimated time to clear the building is at least 90 minutes. Recommend immediate evacuation of all personnel." Cole felt his stomach drop as he realized that their enemies had anticipated every possible security measure and prepared accordingly. Crown Prince William's voice cut through the radio chatter with royal authority. "Captain, what are our options?" Cole considered the situation carefully, understanding that every choice carried potentially fatal consequences. "Your Royal Highness, we can return to the palace and postpone the ceremony. We can wait for the bomb squad to clear the cathedral, or we can proceed to a secondary location for an abbreviated ceremony." The silence that followed his words seemed to last forever as the royal family considered their impossible choices. The decision came from an unexpected source, as young Prince Alexander spoke with the wisdom that sometimes emerges from innocence. "Brother William, all the people came to see you become king today. If we go home now, they'll think the bad men won." The boy's simple observation captured the essential truth of their situation. The ceremony represented more than personal safety or political tradition. It symbolized the nation's refusal to surrender to terrorism and violence. Queen Isabella made the final decision with the authority of someone who had spent her life preparing for impossible choices. "We proceed to the cathedral. Captain Cole, your teams have 90 minutes to ensure that building is safe for my family. Use whatever resources you require, but make it happen." Cole nodded grimly, understanding that she had just ordered him to perform what might be an impossible task under an impossible deadline. The motorcade pulled into the cathedral plaza as bomb disposal experts worked frantically inside the ancient building. Cole coordinated with team leaders while keeping one eye on the royal limousine and another on the crowds of spectators who had gathered despite the obvious danger. The sight of ordinary citizens refusing to be driven away by terrorist threats reminded him why the monarchy mattered, and why his job was about more than protecting individual lives. 87 minutes later, the bomb squad leader emerged from the cathedral with news that would determine the fate of the kingdom. "Captain, we've located and disarmed 3 separate explosive devices. The building is secure, but we found evidence of additional threats that were apparently abandoned when the attackers realized we had discovered their plan." Cole felt a mixture of relief and continued concern as he realized that, while the immediate danger had passed, the broader threat remained very real. The coronation ceremony proceeded with unprecedented security measures as Cole positioned himself directly behind the royal family, his eyes constantly scanning for threats that might have been missed. Young Prince Alexander stood beside his brother with perfect posture. His earlier fear transformed into obvious pride as he watched William accept the crown that had been worn by their ancestors for centuries. The moment represented everything Cole had spent his career protecting: tradition, stability, and the peaceful transfer of power. As the new king raised his hand to acknowledge his subjects' cheers, Cole noticed something that made his heart skip a beat. A figure in the cathedral balcony was moving in a way that seemed inconsistent with the celebration below. The guard's hand moved toward his weapon as he identified the potential threat, but before he could react, the figure raised what appeared to be a camera rather than a gun. Cole's training had taught him to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best, and in this case, his caution proved unnecessary. The ceremony concluded without further incident as the newly crowned king led his family back down the cathedral aisle toward the waiting motorcade. Cole fell into step behind them, his relief tempered by the knowledge that the journey back to the palace presented new opportunities for their enemies to attack. The guard's radio buzzed with constant updates from security teams positioned throughout the city, all reporting normal activity and no signs of additional threats. Young Prince Alexander turned to Cole as they reached the cathedral doors, his face beaming with excitement and pride. "Captain, my brother is the king now. Did you see how brave he was?" The boy's enthusiasm was infectious, reminding Cole that despite all the danger and drama, they had successfully protected something precious and irreplaceable. "Yes, Your Royal Highness, I saw everything. Your brother was very brave, and so were you." The return journey to the palace proceeded without incident, but Cole remained vigilant until the motorcade passed through the palace gates and into the secure courtyard. Only then did he allow himself to feel the full weight of relief that came with completing what might have been the most challenging assignment of his career. The royal family had survived multiple assassination attempts and successfully completed a ceremony that would be remembered for generations to come. Queen Isabella approached Cole in the palace courtyard, her ceremonial gown flowing in the evening breeze. "Captain, I don't have words adequate to express my family's gratitude for what you did today. You saved not just our lives, but the future of this kingdom." Cole accepted her thanks with characteristic humility, but he also understood that his actions had been part of a larger effort involving hundreds of dedicated professionals who had worked together to protect the crown. As night fell over the capital city, Cole walked the familiar corridors of the palace with a profound sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. The day's events had tested every aspect of his training and experience, forcing him to make split-second decisions under impossible pressure. Most importantly, he had kept his promise to young Prince Alexander and ensured that the royal family remained safe despite facing their most dangerous day in decades. The final intelligence report of the day revealed the true scope of the threat they had faced. Captain, preliminary investigations suggest that today's attacks were coordinated by an international terrorist organization with specific goals of destabilizing constitutional monarchies throughout Europe. Your successful protection of the royal family has likely prevented similar attacks in other kingdoms. Cole realized that their victory had implications far beyond the borders of their own nation. Crown Prince William, now King William, summoned Cole to the throne room for a private meeting. The new monarch had exchanged his ceremonial robes for a simple military uniform, but his bearing carried the new weight of kingship that would define the rest of his life. "Captain, I want you to know that your actions today exemplify everything that is best about service to the crown. History will remember this day and your role in protecting constitutional government during its moment of greatest peril." Young Prince Alexander made one final appearance before being escorted to his quarters, approaching Cole with the serious expression of someone who had witnessed history in the making. "Captain, when I grow up, I want to be brave like you and my brother. Will you teach me how to protect people?" The boy's question touched something deep in Cole's heart, reminding him that the day's events had not just preserved the present, but had also protected the future of the monarchy. As Cole completed his final security briefing of the day, he reflected on the extraordinary events that had tested everyone involved. The royal family had faced their greatest challenge with courage and dignity, while the security forces had performed with precision and professionalism under extreme pressure. Most importantly, the kingdom had demonstrated that constitutional government could survive even the most determined attacks by those who sought to destroy it through violence and intimidation. The palace settled into peaceful quiet as Cole walked the perimeter one last time, ensuring that all security protocols were in place for the night ahead. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and responsibilities, but today had proven that dedication, training, and courage could triumph over even the most sophisticated terrorist threats. The crown endured, the monarchy remained strong, and the future stretched ahead with promise and possibility. In the years that would follow, historians would study the events of Coronation Day as a defining moment when democracy and constitutional government faced their greatest test and emerged victorious. Cole's actions would be remembered not just for their tactical brilliance, but for their demonstration that individual courage and professional dedication could make the difference between chaos and stability in moments of national crisis. Young Prince Alexander would indeed grow up to serve his country with distinction, often citing the lessons he learned from watching Captain Cole, under pressure as formative influences in his development as both a leader and a protector of constitutional values. The boy's question about bravery would be answered through years of patient instruction and example, ensuring that future generations would understand the price of freedom and the value of those who dedicate their lives to protecting it. The terrorist organization responsible for the attacks would eventually be dismantled through international cooperation and persistent investigation, but their failure to achieve their goals on Coronation Day would mark the beginning of their decline. Cole's successful protection of the royal family had sent a clear message that constitutional governments would not be intimidated by violence, and that dedicated professionals stood ready to defend democratic institutions against any threat.